Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today we're jumping into some malicious compliance. Before we start, if you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It's completely free and you can always change your mind later. But if you stick around, there might just be some cookies in your near future. Maybe. Alright, our first story today comes to us from egrant03. Can't remove the charge? Well, I'll just use it then. Let's jump right in. In the early 2000s, when I first moved out on my own, I rented from a complex that charged you for assigned parking. It was an upcharge of $25 a month. If you didn't get assigned parking, you would have to fight for a space on the street. My apartment was in the back of the complex, and I was getting over a recent knee and ankle injury, so I opted for paid parking that was relatively close to my front door. My car was a junker, 3 years older than I am, but it ran semi-okay and the heater worked. As a newly minted adult, I was happy to have it. About 3 months into my lease, my car went to the great scrap heap in the sky. I had gotten used to the local transit system and discovered a nearby store would drop off groceries for me. This was long before Walmart and other stores started doing it, so it was cheaper than figuring a month's supplies on the bus. So I opted not to replace the car and utilize the bus pass my work reimbursed me for. I went to my leasing office and told them I no longer needed the space, and would you please remove the extra charge from my bill? The manager at the desk was new and had never been asked that before. She promised to look into it and let me know. I was naive and figured it would be gone come next month. Nope, it was still there. I paid all but the parking space and called up the complex. Same girl. She said she was awaiting word from higher-ups and offered me a credit for the charge as a one-time courtesy. I reminded her that I no longer owned a car. I hadn't just changed my mind. I told her that the space had been empty for close to a month now and that I won't be utilizing it. She said she understood loud and clear and would get it sorted by next month. 3 days before rent was due, she finally got back to me. Apparently, it was in my lease and couldn't be removed without breaking the lease and signing a new one. Even if I didn't move out, the lease breaking and initiation fees would be charged to me, and my rent would go up to the new current market value. This would be over $1,000, so not an option for someone freshly on their own. I kept the parking space on the lease. 3 weeks later, I was reviewing my lease to get the phone number for maintenance and noticed the clause for the parking space. Essentially, I could park a motorcycle, scooter such as a Vespa, a car, a truck, an SUV, or a trailer in the space. Gears were turning. For me to be in compliance, I had to have wheels on anything parked in my space. So I went to my local version of Craigslist and found a wheeled container similar to a shipping container. It wasn't cheap, but it was worth every cent. The complex offered storage sheds at an upcharge too. Being fresh out of high school, I didn't have much to store. My neighbor, though, did. I threw a lock on the unit and offered it to my neighbor for half the cost of a shed, $35 a month. He was able to move his stuff out of his storage unit where he was paying over $100 a month, and the container was available 24/7, 365. He was happy for the arrangement and paid several months in advance. The complex put several tow stickers for out of compliance on the trailer, but I called the tow company and faxed them a copy of the lease where it says trailers are allowed. The container was registered with the county as a utility trailer, so there's nothing they could do. They tried to fine me for improper parking, but again, I had proof I was within my rights. They even offered to remove the charge for parking on my lease if I would relocate the container. With what my neighbor was paying, I could cover my water bill every month, so I declined. I stayed 18 months and sold the trailer to my neighbor when I moved out. He had to rent a car to relocate it to his assigned space, but he said it was worth the couple hundred he paid. He ended up saving over $1,000 a year renting from me. Other neighbors even started bringing in their own containers too, even if it meant getting a second space. Sheds were being vacated at such a large volume, the complex tried to give them away at 6 months free. Few took them up on it. The complex amended the new leases to exclude trailers, but could do nothing about those that already had them in the spot. Instead of moving out and giving notice, renters would reassign their lease to new people so they could be grandfathered into the trailer clause. I drove by the facility 2 years or so after I moved out, going to a friend's for Thanksgiving. The complex had been sold to a new owner and changed their name. But wouldn't you know, there were still about a dozen wheeled shipping containers parked in the lot. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called Aviitis. It says, "That, my friend, is a job well done. Not only have you given them the triple middle finger, you've also helped out a ton of people over several rental generations. You may and should be happy for the way you dealt with this and for all the people that have benefited rightly from your actions." One really fun thing to think about with this one is that if the complex had had it towed, they would have been completely on the hook for the tow, the storage fees, and getting it back to you, all because it was in the lease. I absolutely love that when they figured out what you were doing, they'd said that they could finally remove that charge from your lease. Like they couldn't do it in the first place, but now that you're inconveniencing them, they can? How does that work? Our next story today comes to us from toffeecaked. Tell the driver he's terrible? Yes, of course. Let's jump right in. Reminded of this by another post here of family members working at the same place. Many years ago, other half and I worked at the same company, but in completely different departments. Other half worked in sales as a salesman and driver, taking out products on his own local route. There was 13 other local routes in that department, fresh product delivered daily. The customer base on my other half's department is small businesses, corner shops, sandwich shops, takeouts, eateries, that kind of thing. These small customers would have orders ranging from $10 to $50 at a time. I worked in the offices, predominantly working with the distant national and international customers, very large businesses in the food industry that most people have certainly heard of for frozen product delivery. Their orders were in the range of $80,000 to $100,000 per month, ordering pallets over pallets of product. I managed their orders and the accounts, doing the aged debt collecting on those. One thing I learned at this place that has stayed true at every other job I've had, the small fry customers are the ones that complain the most and the loudest. Due to the nature of the job, I had to take phone calls, a mixture of the large customers haggling to pay their debts later, sprinkled with the local corner shops calling to complain. Took a call one morning from Karen, of course, complaining that her delivery was short, the driver is horrible, and a piece of work and should be fired. She's always having the same problem with this driver. He's never on time, he's surly, he's rude, and that I should tell the driver to buck his ideas up or they are never ordering product from us again. She made some choice words about the driver, screaming, swearing, the whole 9 yards. I asked the business name and the business location. The location by the area tells me which route they are on before I even look up their account. Once I have the business name, I already recognize them as a problem customer. They have actually been moved from one neighboring route to another due to issues. Read, many sales drivers refusing to have anything more to do with them. Karen continues to rant while I do due diligence to look up their account. So what are you going to do about it? I want the driver reprimanded immediately. My order was short of this product and that product. He was late. He wouldn't comp or refund the missing products. He's a C and an F, blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm super sorry about that. Let me fix this for you. I see your order on my screen here, and I also see your handwritten faxed order that was scanned in. Those products aren't on your order, I'm afraid. The driver can't credit items that were not ordered. Yes, I did. I want compensation and the driver fired. I see. Let me dig into this a little further. Right, I see there has been a lot of credits in your account already. Also, lining up your orders that didn't include those credited products in the past? That's rather odd. Important to note, it was normal for the local drivers to sometimes put in credits to keep the smaller customers quiet and on board. Sometimes production issues happen, ordered products are short or not available that day. The business had a whole philosophy that the customer was always right, and to keep them happy. I was in the business for debt collecting, completely opposite to that, and had the power to place customers on hold. They got nothing until they paid up. I noticed that this customer hasn't paid their bill for over 6 weeks. They now fall under my remit. Your driver's lying. I know what I've ordered. Your drivers are always doing this and he was a rude F. I want the driver reprimanded and fired or I'm never ordering again. Given that they had been a problem account for quite some time, I decide to comply. You know, I'll follow this up for you. I can't speak to the driver right now as they're out delivering, but I will reprimand the driver tonight over dinner at home. Karen was silent at first. Wait, what? My other half is 6'2", built like a brick house. He isn't a doormat, but he's also the most chill and least rude person I have ever known. We take this very seriously and don't wish to lose your business. We're very sorry to hear you're unsatisfied, and I do see you've had similar problems in the past. Unfortunately, I don't have the authority to fire my other half, but here's what I can do. As your account is now in aged debt, I will place your deliveries on hold, and I promise you won't see that driver until the account is fully audited and paid in full. He's your husband? I don't think we need to go that far. He is, but that isn't relevant. I insist we look into your complaint and take it seriously. I'll order a personal audit of your account, as all these credits for product not included in your past orders is concerning. I'll get this all straightened out for you. If you decide to take your business elsewhere after the audit is complete and the account settled, we'll be sorry to see you go, but completely understand your stance if we can't find a resolution. Karen splutters, mumbles that it's all okay, she was having a bad day and it's not all that bad. I know, don't worry, let me audit this and get you a final correct total, and the driver won't bother you again until the account is square and you're happy with the service. Aftermath. Customer's aged bill came in at $150 more for items that were credited to keep them happy and quiet. When she insisted to complain that they were not getting product they did not order in the first place, and tried to make out my other half was terrible at his job. They didn't get any orders till the account was paid in full, and customer never made a peep again. Husband continued to deliver to them after the audit and settling the bill, and always walked in there with a big smile. Moral of the story, be careful who you lie and complain to, because that's going to bite you in the butt one day. Jumping down to the comment section in this one, there's one from a user called Quahog News. It says, I can't remember who said it, but I love the quote, "The squeaky wheel doesn't always get the grease. Sometimes it gets replaced." I think it applies here pretty well, laugh out loud. This has to be every delivery driver's dream come true. I do hope the story spread company-wide and became a legend. OP responded to this one and said, those drivers in that department that had dealt with the customer previously took great pleasure in the fact I handed the customer's butt to them. Husband and I remember this moment fondly when we reminisce about the time we worked at the same place. And husband does get a proud, crap-eating grin that wifey stuck up for him. You know, at the end of this story I kinda got disappointed because, well, they're still delivering to this customer in the end. I felt like they should have been cut off. But I wanna know, was that just me? Should the customer have been cut off altogether in this case because they were obviously trying to fraud the company, or should they just be given another chance like OP said and continue deliveries in the future? Comment what you think down below. Our next story today comes to us from Particular Tax 3579. Corporate said so. Let's jump right in. Someone posted a pizza story and it's sending me back, so here's a good one from me to you. I used to sling pizza, and I had this one couple who would regularly come in and order a specialty pizza, think meat lovers, but with 3 times the amount of toppings, like extra everything. Plus, they would add extra of other toppings that weren't originally on that pizza, like olives and onions. So of course, this meant it never cooked thoroughly, even after sending it through the oven twice. Every single time they would complain about the pizza being too burnt on the edges and not cooked enough, and it took too long, and they also wanted more of the toppings. I tried repeatedly to explain to them that every extra topping you add makes the portion size of all the toppings go down. I don't even understand why we were allowed to add so many toppings on at the register. Anyways, about the 5th or 6th time I replaced the pizza for them because they kept complaining to corporate and received credit, the man came in again and said they spoke to corporate and corporate wants me to make the pizza the way they want it. I knew that wasn't true. There really wasn't a corporate customers could call, just a call center, and those people did not care. But I decided I'd do exactly what they asked, but made sure to explain to them that if I made it their way and it didn't turn out well, they wouldn't be getting any more remakes. I took the order and made it as they were expecting, kinda. I put full portions of each topping on that monster. To say that pizza was an effing mountain is an understatement. It didn't even fit in the oven. I had to take toppings off. I did feel a little bad at this point, knowing full well they paid, with the store credit, over $40 for this one pizza, and there was no way it would ever properly cook. So I did give it 2 runs through the oven, but that still didn't help. It was pan-to-pan toppings, so getting out of the pan sucked, and I just put and cut it right in the box so the toppings wouldn't fall everywhere. After I cut it, the slices disappeared under the toppings, and you couldn't even see crust, so it just looked like a giant pile of trash toppings dumped in a box. I couldn't even close it. I brought it to the customer, and he started to lose it on me, saying it took too long, and it looked like a mess, and he wanted another credit. I pulled out his receipt and asked which part wasn't up to par. He said it didn't look cooked, and I reminded him how I warned him of that with this amount of toppings, and I would have cooked it longer if he hadn't been complaining about time. I also showed him the at-home cooking time and temps on the box. I showed him the crust underneath and went through all the toppings and extras. Everything was accounted for as he asked for it, so I told him I'd let management and corporate know that it was made to his liking. Never saw them again. Down in the comment section for this one, there's one from a user called Bratling. It says, "Dude, don't feel bad. These people were exploiting the system to get free pizzas from your store 5 times. That's not just being slow to learn. They kept at it until you called their bluff. And then they went to screw with other stores instead of yours. Great story." I'm glad this turned out okay for OP and that the customer never come back, but I think another way they could have dealt with this would have been to refuse to put that one together altogether and say, "I'm sorry, I've told you how that's going to turn out. I probably can't even safely get that into a box without getting it all over the place, and it's just not going to be fully cooked. We can't do that. What else can I get for you?" Unfortunately, with this type of person, I think that probably would have just escalated the situation even further, so I guess OP did the right thing anyway. Check out all 3 OPs linked in the description down below. I thank you for watching, I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.